Welcome to our podcast, What No Mom Told You, where the rarely spoken truths finally get loud.
I'm Megan Nelson.
And I'm Pauline Walfish. And this is a therapist-led podcast where we talk about the things no one warned you about, the truths that are often kept quiet.
We're naming the messy parts of life: motherhood, fertility, loss, grief, and joy, and everything in between, without judgment.
Because the rarely spoken truths need to be said out loud, and because no one should feel alone.
Welcome to What No Mom Told You.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Pauline Walfish, and I'm here today with my co-host and our very special guest. So let me first introduce my co-host, Megan Nelson.
Hi, everybody.
And Megan, why don't you introduce our guest today?
So today we have Nicole Tropiano. She's a Long Island-based mom of 2 little kids, a former nurse, and a content creator who brings humor and reality to her social media audience. She's a fierce advocate for moms and mental health, and she uses her platform to share real-life insights around mental health, sobriety, and the reality of parenting. Welcome, Nicole. We're so glad to have you here.
Hi, thank you so much. It's an honor.
Nicole, you don't even know this, but we first met last year at the county event for maternal mental health. But before that, I had been saying, I wish somebody could talk about this or get her message out. And our coworker, Stephanie, who you know, was like, you have to meet, the one. And I was like, who are you talking about? And then I found your platform and your name was Honestly Nick, right? And I was like, oh, that's cool, because we are always, as therapists, we're always saying you're comparing your life to somebody else's highlight reel. This is not real life. What you're seeing or what you're comparing is not what actually, as therapists, we hear what actually happens. It's not what most people are posting on social media. And so your platform was Honestly Nick, and it was pretty real life stuff, right? So obviously that resonated with me. And then recently I noticed you're no longer Honestly Nick. So what the hell?
So it's so simple. It was honestly Nick Goal. So I made that years ago because I realized that authenticity was my brand, and I had just finished nursing school. I was on a health journey. So I had goals. So Nick Goal was a play on Nicole. I very recently found out that a lot of people didn't get that. And so to have goal instead of goals, it was just strange. And I just figured that, now because I'm sharing my whole life, I am the brand. And I was so hesitant to share my last name on social media. But at the end of the day, people are going to find out what they're going to find out. And so I'm just Nicole Tropiano now.
All right. But you're still Honestly Nick, right?
Definitely. I mean, my
is pretty accurate representation of real life.
Yeah. I mean, there's only 2 things that I definitely don't share on here, and they're deeply personal. And maybe one day I will share, but I assure you that everything else that goes on in my life is shared on the internet, whether that be good or bad. It's incredibly cathartic for me. So selfishly, I enjoy it. But no, you get the good, bad, and the ugly.
I mean, I love it because that's real life, right? Things are not wrapped up in a bow. And if you could see the rest of my office, you would understand. I have never been somebody who's everything is tucked away and nice and neat. My life has always been chaotic, and I had a lot of shame about that for a long time. And now I just kind of own it, and it's been fun.
Yeah, my computer is propped on a pile of socks. There's laundry here. There's a pair of shoes on the table, and I love that I'm able my whole niche is authenticity and transparency. So I don't have to prep my house to make a video. I don't have to put on makeup to get my face on the screen, So I've kind of I benefit from it,
It's liberating.
It is. It is.
And so helpful. As therapists, we can only self-disclose so much. And yet I've been in groups with moms who are a new mom group, and they're everybody's thing looks perfect. And I'm okay, self-disclosure time. Look at the other side of my camera, And yet, we can't really do that the way that we want to. And so we can point to people like you that are look, this is the reality.
Yeah.
There is a reason why people want to show the polished version of themselves, but how much can you keep up with that? So
For
that's,
sure. And
yeah.
it's exhausting, and I always say that social media is not real. It's fake. Excuse me, you touched upon the highlight reel of it all, and if there's, like, one thing, well, one of many, that I can encourage people to do is to unfollow people and block them if they don't make you feel good, myself included. Like, you're able to curate your social media algorithm, do it so that it makes you feel happy and makes you feel proud of yourself. If somebody is on there and you're feeling shame or you're feeling like, oh, I should get that, or oh, I need to be doing that, get rid of it. It's all bullshit, you know?
Yeah.
That I love that. Megan and I have co-facilitated an infertility group, and I've done it for years. And there's so much good content about fertility struggles and what that is like because it's something that just happens so hidden. And I always tell people like you can create a fake Instagram account, like have one for your infertility life and then have one where you block any fertility related content. Like it is only
Mm.
cats and puppies or whatever makes you happy. For me, it's gardening. And then like have a separate one where when you want to go and get that support, you can like see those videos. But like you don't have to be exposed to that all of the time. You just have to keep them separate because the algorithm knows what to feed you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you think resonates with people with your presence online?
So it's interesting because I went over the questions that you had sent, and I know it's like a loose, blueprint because we could say we want to talk about this and then end up over here. And I thought about that question, and I think that it's not one specific topic. I think it's authenticity. And like you'll hear me repeat like authenticity, transparency, honesty, because it's really just how I live my life. And I think that regardless of what topic I'm talking about, when you're being honest about it, people can tell. Like I don't do double takes. I don't do like, hey, oh my God, oh shit, hold on, I gotta run that back. No, like you get what you get. I'm stream of consciousness. People know that. That's why sometimes I put my foot in my mouth. Oftentimes I'll double down, but it's what you get. And I think that that's what some people hate and some people love.
Do you think you were always like that?
Yes, I think that I've always been, and I think that there's a negative connotation about what I was about to say, outspoken. I think it's just like outspoken is a way to like keep women down. Like, oh, she's an outspoken woman. Like, no, can I curse?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, you can. Like, because you're a
No.
bitch.
What? No, like fuck that. Like I'm not outspoken. I speak my mind. I'm confident in what I'm saying. Of course, there have been times in my life where insecurity has taken like the front seat instead of the back seat. But I have always been this way. I've just found a way, like since getting older and like having like tools in my toolbox of being in recovery and being in like deep amounts of therapy. I found a way to make it more helpful instead of like harmful.
I'm curious how that outspoken, because you still are a nurse, but you're not working right now as a nurse, right? But like
Yeah.
you did work in what I call corporate healthcare, right? Like,
So, no, I've never worked as a nurse. I worked as a CNA, I worked as an EMT. I passed my boards when I was 7 months pregnant, and I was like, maybe somebody will hire me. I've always wanted to be in the emergency room. I wanted to be covered in blood and guts. And then I had my daughter, and it changed everything. And I realized that I wanted to be in maternal health care, but really fast anecdote. I was supposed to look for work when my daughter was 6 months old. Postpartum anxiety slapped me in the face, and it really was heavy revolving around breastfeeding.
mm,
So we decided that I'll start looking for work at a year when she's no longer dependent on my breast milk. We started her in daycare, and for 3 weeks every day, I got the call to pick her up because she cried and screamed until she threw up. So at week 3, my husband and I looked at each other and we said, I guess I'm a stay at home mom now. And that is the story of how I never worked as a nurse.
Do
yeah,
you
maybe one day.
Yeah. Do you still want to?
100%. Of course I do. And I want to help moms. And we've always spoken about me going into midwifery or lactation. The thing with midwifery is to even qualify for midwifery school, I have to have a certain amount of hours as a nurse. So I don't know if I'll ever want to be in the emergency room covered in blood and guts. I like chaos. So that's why I always wanted that. Maybe when my kids are in school and it's like I could work a 12-hour shift and nobody needs to be breastfed, but I 100% want to use this education that I fought tooth and nail to be a straight A nursing student. So I definitely definitely will be a
Straight A
nurse.
nurse. I've never been a straight A student, but
I know
for
it was
you.
very important to me, but I had no kids. Well, towards the end, getting my bachelor's, I had my daughter, but no, I had no kids. We were not married and never care in the world, you know. So I was able to do that. It's also the overachiever in me. It stems from insecurity. Like at the core of it, it's like you won't love me unless I'm achieving the highest level. But I know that now, but I still
Still,
love
yeah,
being a straight A
not a
student. Yeah,
million
yeah,
trust me, I mean, I had to get a 4.0
yeah.
in grad school, and it wasn't because I had to get a 4.0 in grad school. It's like, I knew I didn't need to, and yet I was gonna do it.
Yeah, yeah. We always said C's get degrees, and I'm like, "Nah, nah, 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 I want an A plus."
Yeah, I have gotten A's, and I always say, like, "I'm really not that smart." Like, people think I'm very smart, like, I'm really not that smart. Like,
That's not true. If you went back to grad
Stop
school
it.
today, you would get
I don't
O's.
I don't know because I don't care. Like, because C's get degrees, right? Like,
Yeah,
I don't care.
yeah. It's
I'm
what's
sorry.
important to you, you
I
know?
learn it, I do it well, but, like, I really don't care how I do on a test or like, I just need to pass.
And I love that. I think that speaks to your like self-assurance. I think that's wonderful.
I don't know.
Well, maybe not. You're
It might be some defense mechanism that I'm just rationalizing the fact that I'm not that smart, but it's okay because people who know me and work with me think I'm smart,
She's
and
not.
I'm okay.
yeah,
Room of
But
smart
I will
women. Wait,
never be a 4.0. It's
no, and
not
that's
gonna
okay.
happen.
You already have your degree, so you don't need to be.
Yeah, and nobody cares. Nobody knows what my GPA
nobody
is, and
cares.
nobody has ever asked what my GPA is.
When you apply for a job, they don't ask what your GPA
No.
is.
And even, like, if I'm on LinkedIn and I'm like, somebody's like 4.0, da, 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 I'm like, "All right." But, like,
Yeah. Like, good for you, guy.
still, like, I would still have to talk myself out of putting that on there. Like, that's
Yeah.
the funny, like, duality
Yeah.
of it, right?
Yeah, well, that's life, right? Like, we can all, like, feel a little bit of both ways. Like, I'm actually think that's pretty cool that you had a 4.0, and I, like, don't ever need that for myself. But I think it's cool that you've got it.
Well, thank you. I do too.
You earned it.
So, your platform, you talk about maternal mental health, obviously, because you went through, well, not obviously, but like you just said, you went through postpartum anxiety, and that was a new experience for you, like something that happened after you gave birth to your daughter. Is that true?
So I've always spoken about mental health. I have multiple mental illnesses. I always have. It just not resonated. It became more important to me after having my daughter and experiencing like a PMAD, a perinatal mood and anxiety disorder, because mental health in general, mental illness is not spoken about, but women birthing people after having a child are so vulnerable, to me so much more vulnerable than like the regular person before becoming a mother or whatever. So it's just become like more, I've become more passionate about speaking about it, but
Yeah.
I've always spoken about mental health.
Yeah. So you had depression and anxiety before you got pregnant.
Correct, and bipolar too.
Okay. And did you have symptoms during your pregnancy or just for you it was postpartum?
I did. So I had anxiety during my pregnancy. Right before I got pregnant, I was with a psychiatrist, a psych NP, who told me that when I got pregnant, I had to come off all my medication. She was not educated. She
Well,
could
that
have killed.
breaks my heart, but and it's not the first time, we hear it all the time, and every time I'm like,
Knowing what I know now, at the end of the day, she could have killed me. It is what it is. It was a perfect storm. My insurance switched right before I got pregnant. So I was no longer seeing that psych NP. My PCP was comfortable prescribing my medication. So I was doing that for a little bit. And then I got pregnant and I wasn't under the care of anybody. And so I found another PCP and I said, listen, I was with a psych NP. She said, I have to come off all my meds. I'm pregnant. Can you help me wean off my meds? And she did. She also wasn't well versed in maternal mental health. And I came off all my medication and I wanted to kill myself. And not like, oh my God, I'm going to kill myself. Like, no, I wanted to end my life because I have clinically diagnosed imbalances of chemicals in my brain. And I need chemicals like psychiatric medication to balance them out. And I was not ingesting them and I wanted to end my life. And I was driving to nursing school one day. It chokes me up because I can't imagine how many people go through this. And I was driving on a bridge and I said, what happens if I just drive off this bridge? And I always describe it as dark thoughts. And I knew that when I get those dark thoughts, I'm in a really bad place. And so I went home and I told my husband, and by the grace of God, he knew that we needed to jump into action. And I found a crisis center and a psych NP who was well versed in maternal mental health, and she could take me, but not for another month. So I went to the crisis center. She said, I recommend these pregnancy drugs. And I started on them again. And I was on the up and up, thank God.
Yeah, and even now, like, look how much it still brings up for you.
Yeah, because there are people who don't know how to get help and they take their own lives and like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like that. There are answers and there are resources and the only reason I knew to do what I did was because I've been in recovery for so long and been on mental health medications for so long, but like that's not everybody's story, you know?
We talk about this like you had so much information already. You were a nurse, you had health insurance, you had, you know, all
Support.
support, and yet it still was falling through the cracks. And that's why I know for myself, for Pauline, for the other women that do this, that we think we talk about it and we don't talk about it enough. And there's never going to be enough. And we're going to just keep on because you're right. It's like you had all of these resources and yet it can still happen.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we know that people who have had depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, PTSD before pregnancy are at really high risk for having a perinatal mood anxiety disorder in pregnancy and postpartum. And you
Mhm.
mentioned bipolar too, right? And having a bipolar disorder not only puts you at high risk for having a PMAD, like it puts you at high risk for having psychosis, which is an emergency, right?
Yeah.
Depression, suicidality are an emergency also, but psychosis is always. Like, so did that happen to you also? Where like maybe you were hearing voices or seeing things or feeling like people were trying to hurt you?
No, thank God, and I could just cry this whole time.
Yeah. We
You could
can.
Thank
also tap like this and it
I
like
know.
will take the
Like
edge off a little bit.
yeah. So no, so thank God I didn't have any psychosis, but because I was with a really intelligent practitioner, she warned me of all this and we spoke about how I needed a certain amount of sleep in order to prevent psychosis. And that was really scary to me because psychosis is the one that's not spoken about, but it's the one that you hear about in the newspapers.
100%. It's the one that, oh, why didn't they get help? And people call it postpartum depression, and it's not. Yeah.
No, and people are in these states of, delusion and hallucinations, and some of them are on medications. There was recently one in the past 3 or 4 years since having my daughter. I remember, like psychosis is the reason that people kill their children and themselves because they don't know any better. And some people can look at it with judgment and say, "How could you do that?" And like, as somebody with mental illness, like I understand how that happens. And like, let's just fucking throw this out here, right? Like, people hear about shaken baby syndrome and how could you ever do that? And I understand why babies are shaken. It takes one moment of irrational thinking because you're exhausted because your baby won't stop crying. Perhaps they're colic. You have no support. You're underprivileged. You have no resources. And it takes one, like, stop crying. And that's shaken baby syndrome. That's why they teach you before you leave the hospital, put the baby down on the floor, put the baby down on the crib and walk away. But in the moment, it's not that easy. So when we have empathy or you have the ability to look within yourself and say, that could be me without judgment, like things make sense, you know?
I remember when my oldest was a baby, and I still can see myself sitting on the couch and being like, "This is how shaken baby syndrome happens," because
For
this
sure.
baby will not stop crying, and, like, I could totally see wanting to shake him right now, like, "Just stop crying."
Yeah.
I was still and, I also had support. My husband was there. There were lots of people caring for me, and, like, I didn't have postpartum depression or anxiety. I was just a normal mom with a
Yeah.
baby that didn't stop crying. Like, and I still remember, like, this moment, this is how this happens.
Yeah.
I wanna add something about postpartum psychosis because I don't want it to go unsaid, right? Like, not everybody who has psychosis in pregnancy winds up in the news, right? Like, yes, it is big and scary. And yes, like you are at big risk for like hurting yourself, hurting your baby, doing something tragic, but it's also treatable. Like
Sure.
people get help. And if people know about it and we don't stigmatize it and we talk about it like a thing that we just have to treat because the chemicals in your brain aren't working correctly,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't have to be that these women wind up in the newspaper, right?
No, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it doesn't necessarily happen like that. You don't just snap into, perhaps you hear something, perhaps you become a little paranoid, perhaps you're not able to sleep or you're sleeping a little more. Like there are warning signs which aren't spoken about. Like they teach you to put your baby on the floor when you leave the hospital. They don't teach you about symptoms of PMADs.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's take a second, Pauline, if I can put you on the spot, and can you talk about the warning signs or the
For
of
psychosis.
for psychosis?
And, everybody's different, and this applies to whether we're talking about depression or OCD, like, everybody's symptoms are different. So for some people who have psychosis, like, it is a pretty, like, you were fine and, like, all of a sudden, you're not making any sense, right? And for some people, like, it's this slow thing that everybody in your family is like, "What's going on?" Like, that doesn't seem right, like, that's not like her. Maybe she's not making decisions quickly. Maybe she's a little slower. Maybe she's not talking. Maybe she's not moving. Like there's a psychotic symptom that's called catatonia where like basically you're like can look frozen. So like not getting up, not standing, not walking, not talking, just like mannequin almost, right? That's a different symptom. Some people will hear voices like nobody's around and yet I hear a voice saying like you're a bad mom. And it's not my own thought. It's like a voice, like you're hearing it like as if somebody else was there, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes people have like religious ideas that might be rooted in your own cultural background, but they're like all of a sudden like a little bit more extreme. Like I've been sent by God to save the world by doing something that might be dangerous, right? So like everybody's symptoms are a little bit different. So I would say, like, if there's anything that you all are like, this doesn't like something's up. This is not my friend, my sister, my daughter, my wife. Like, talk to somebody because those, like, the things that make your brow furrow are like your warning signs, right?
Mm.
We should not just ignore this.
Yeah. And talk to somebody, like, that also means, like, okay, who do you talk to? I believe there is still the national hotline for maternal mental health hotline.
Wow.
Might have to fact check that. So if I take it out, then might not be there anymore. But there are resources.
Yeah. Yeah, in New York, we have the Postpartum Resource Center. Nationally is Postpartum Support International. There are warm lines and hotlines. So, like, there are warm lines, so somebody will get back to you within a few hours or a day at most. But, like, if you're suicidal or you're hearing voices telling you to do something dangerous, like, please don't wait for somebody to call you back tomorrow. Like, there are crisis lines and hotlines and 911, 988, go to an emergency room. Like if those things are happening, if it's more than like the furrow brow, right? Like if it's like, oh, they're saying things that are totally not true, like go right to an emergency room. Like don't wait.
Yeah, and there's one, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but for people who are local on Long Island, there's Dash, which is a crisis center in Hauppauge, and a new one just opened up in Nassau in Bethpage. I don't have the name of it, but it's similar to Dash. You can walk in if you're in crises.
Yeah, it's Central Nassau Guidance, I believe.
Okay.
We'll check that. And in Queens, Zucker Hillside also has a walk-in crisis clinic. So
And they have a whole wing that's just for maternal mental health
right, they have a women's unit.
unit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is what I was going to say when we were talking about postpartum psychosis and, where it's looked at as women who do this are monsters. And you're saying, no, no, no. I could see how, in other parts of the world, there are hospitals specifically mom and baby units for postpartum psychosis, whereas here it gets sensationalized in the news as like they're monsters who did this. How could they do this horrible thing to their baby?
Right.
And
And because we don't have the supports in place. In Canada, you can be hospitalized for no reason other than you need sleep. We
Ugh,
can't do that in the US.
what?
In the US, you don't get to be in the hospital, get to be, unless you're a danger to yourself or somebody else. So, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and you have to come from a place of privilege, like, you could get a postpartum doula, but they're so expensive. Like, I come from a place of privilege, an upper middle class socioeconomic family, and I still couldn't afford a postpartum doula. So it was like me and my husband doing the damn thing on our own, you know?
and we're making some progress. Like, Medicaid now will provide some doula services. Not
we
Wow.
the
should be paying them
same.
more. They should pay them more, but okay.
Yeah, it's not the same as what a privileged person could bring into their home, but we're making progress.
Mm,
We have a long way to go. But I have to say, like, Megan and I were just at a conference and there was an entire presentation on social media.
mhm.
They had clips from different people's reels and like you are an influencer, right? Because for whether we like it or not, and we happen to like it mostly, like this is where people are getting their information from, right? This is how people know that postpartum psychosis doesn't mean that you're a monster. Like, oh, it's a disease like diabetes or hypertension, because there are influencers like you who are keeping it real, sharing the good, the bad, and the ugly, not just the highlight reels. But
Yeah.
that's what life is. Like,
What do you do when people reach out to you for support through your platform?
Yeah, they do. I also run one of the biggest moms groups on Long Island. I co-founded it with the founder Lauren Zambelli Davis. It's called Mamas and Minis Long Island. So a lot of people will post there looking for support. I just approved 2 posts this morning about somebody who thinks they have PPD or PPA, and it's really beautiful because the community will come together and suggest like therapists that they've used, or we have a lot of trusted therapists on the group that like we allow to post and like comment back. But people do message me on my personal Instagram, and all I can do is just bring resources to them. As part of my capstone project for my bachelor's in nursing, I worked with a local midwife, and my capstone project was PMADs and educating the patients. And so I put together a resource list, and there was a resource list for this hospital network, but it hadn't been checked in a long
Dated.
time.
Yep.
So I went and I reached out to these therapists and these psychiatrists or these psych NPs or NPs, PAs, and I said, "Do you have availability? Are you willing to call people back within 24 to 48 hours? And do you want to be a part of this resource list?" And I put together that resource list like on Canva, and I had to submit it as part of my project, got an A on that. And
gotten
but
an A
which
on that. I if Canva had existed when I was a student, I would have gotten an A.
Isn't it so funny? But at the end of the day, like I'm joking, but who gives a shit about the grade? It's about bringing the resources. So I'll literally send a screenshot to people, or I'll educate them about Dash or that new crisis center. There's the Psych NP that, ooh, I get emotional. I'm just going to shout her out. I don't know if it's allowed or not, but Michelle Sauls.
We love Michelle.
Oh my God. She literally saved my life twice since being a patient of hers. She went private. My case was far too complex for her to continue on with. She gave it to me straight. Like, I need to be with a large network so that if I do happen to experience psychosis or my OCD gets worse, they have like a network in place they can get me into somewhere. But I still, till the day I die, will recommend her. I think she is phenomenal. I think that if she's not able to take the patient, she can refer them somewhere. So I always recommend her. I recommend Helping Hands or Stephanie, like we were talking about. All I can do is bring resources to people and just pray that they take advantage of it.
I
Yeah.
just had a postpartum doula on a few weeks ago, and like she said, it's like resources are her love language. And
I love that. What a
yeah,
beautiful way to put it.
We
it's
are
true. It's like
very we are very lucky on Long Island because there are a lot of perinatal providers. And even with that, it's sometimes hard to find somebody, right?
Sure.
But, like, Michelle I think Michelle trained with us with I say us, like, I was at Zucker then. I think she was Rebecca's intern, if I re Rebecca Feldman, who's at Brooklyn Parent Support. But you mentioned, like, moms posting in, like, chat rooms of, like, I think I have postpartum anxiety, and everybody this happens in not just therapy, right? Like, we all recommend our doctor, our and even in infertility, I always say, like, the best doctor is the one who gets you pregnant. It's the one
Mm,
who saved your life, right? So, like, Michelle might be your best, and somebody else's life was saved by somebody else, right? And here on
sure.
the island, we have so many good quality therapists and mental health, perinatal mental health providers, and we all refer to each other when we're like, don't have openings or don't have, or we're not the best fit, right? Because
Yeah,
also, like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, right? And so some
sure.
people are going to have a better relationship with someone else. And so we all kind of know each other and talk to each other. And I love that. And we have a lot of people. And still, it's hard to sometimes find help.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And you mentioned Michelle going private, like many of us have, again,
Course,
because our healthcare systems are just not set up to take care of people.
for sure. And
Behavioral health is valued and providers are paid. And, I spent a long time in community health or corporate healthcare. And, the people with the least experience have the biggest caseloads and the hardest, the most challenging cases
yeah.
and are
Yeah, and no
least.
fault to Michelle. I love her, and she knows I love her, and I send people to her all the time, and I'm like, let her know that Nicole Tropiano sent you. Like, this isn't a collaboration. There's no referral fee. Like, I just want her to know that I
And
still.
don't get the 10% discount.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I just want her to know that I speak her name in rooms, because she was so helpful to me.
This is so moving to me because I mean, I've talked about it a little bit on our podcast, but I had postpartum experience, a traumatic birth experience, postpartum experience 14 years ago. And then when I decided maybe 10 years ago that I wanted to do this work and specialize in perinatal mental health, I really thought I was going to have to figure out how to do it on my own. And I remember thinking, because I had to find it on my own 14 years ago, I would call, I'd be like, do you have anyone I can talk to? And they'd be like, no, I have someone who can write you a prescription, but, for PTSD, I don't know who you would talk to. So now, 14 years later, like the fact that I get to sit in this room, the fact that I get to do this for my job is like the greatest thing besides having my children and meeting my husband, the greatest thing that I've ever gotten to do. And just to be in this room and to hear as you described, a complex case and you have full support. And not only that, you're offering full support is just this really beautiful, still complex, still not perfect web that I get to witness happening in real time. And I think that is just so cool.
It's awesome.
Yeah. I hope you realize how special it is for people that you do share the way that you do. And also, I said it to you before we started recording, like, there are things you don't have to share. Like, that's okay. If you feel like, I'm going to keep this, right? Like, and even I had this conversation with one of our therapists yesterday who was like, I should share this, right? Because we're a perinatal practice. And I'm like, you don't have to. We don't have to use ourselves in every moment. Like, you can, you don't have to. You might not want to now, maybe later you will, right? Like I talk about my infertility experience all of the time, but it's almost 17 years ago, right? Like when I was living through it, like I was just managing it myself. I was not an advocate the way that I am today. And you get to do that and change. But the fact that you are talking about things that people don't talk about, showing videos of things that nobody talks about, being honest, like that is just so valuable for people.
Well, thank you. And I just want to say something. So I hear you. And like I said, there's two things that I keep to myself, and people are so nosy and curious. I'm such a nosy person. I know they're going to want to know what it is.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe
It's
in
totally
maybe in time,
organic.
guys.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking, right? Like,
So I hear you that I don't have to, but I will argue that I do. I think that as content creators, as influencers, as people with an audience and a community and a voice, I do think we have a responsibility to speak up, to speak out. And I will say that, and so like I believe that you can change your mind. I have really leaned into that lately. And I say that to say, like, in the past few years, like, you get new information or you feel new things, you experience new things, and you can change your mind. So I understand, like, specifically about, like, you know, political or social justice, civil rights, issues. There are lots of creators who, because they don't want to lose followers, they don't want to lose brand deals, they don't speak up, they don't speak out. And
Mhm.
I think that is disgusting. I do understand why people keep things close to their vest as long as they're truly not doing it to keep followers, but maybe they're doing work behind the scenes, which is what really matters. I'm all over the place, but like, I do think that I owe it to people to be honest about this. I do. My husband will say, like, you don't have to share that. And I'm like, babe, but I do. Like, I I think you can save lives by being honest about things. And like, I was taught from recovery, like, I go to meetings, and like, with the philosophy is like, go out and help somebody. Like, if you can help one person, if you could reach one person each day, you've done your job. So if I can do that, and there are some days, like when I got pregnant with my son last year, I was so sick. I was so like fatigued in the first trimester. It kind of masked as like a depressive episode. And I couldn't really share that I was pregnant. I just didn't want to. We weren't there yet. And I believe in sharing that you're pregnant early, because God forbid you experience a loss. God forbid you experience something. You want those same people you shared the joy with to support you in your loss. But I wasn't ready to share with the internet. And I kept that close. And I don't regret that. But you just never know who you're going to help and who needs it. So I hear what you're saying and I respect it, but I would argue what I just
I mean, I
argued.
love when people argue with me, like, honestly.
No, 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 no,
Like,
no, no.
bring it.
Not arguing with you,
And
but
I
just
and
like
I would just
another.
I would just counter, like, you don't have to do it at your own risk, right? If it's gonna be
I
harmful
appreciate
to
that.
you, if it's going to be, like, too vulnerable, like,
True.
it doesn't have to be right now. And
I
if you
agree with
feel
that.
like I need to make sure that people know about foot fetishes, like, find some other way to talk about foot fetishes. You don't have to show your photo album.
I agree with that. I don't have a foot fetish, but if I did, I'd probably share about it.
Yeah.
But I know I agree with you completely. It's, if I'm going to compromise myself, then I owe it to myself not to share that. I do agree.
Yeah. But yes, I 100% agree with you that, like, people who have a voice and can use it should when they can. And if they have something that they need to say that they're keeping to themselves for non-good reasons, then they should probably just say they made a mistake and they changed their mind. But
Yeah, I also don't wanna work with a brand that doesn't respect what I'm saying or agree with me. Like, we don't all have to agree with each other, but there are certain things that are morally, ethically, humanly right, and I will die on that fucking hill. I don't wanna work with a brand that doesn't agree. I don't wanna go work for a hospital system, whether it be Stony Brook or Northwell, or and I don't wanna work for them if I'm not able to speak about things that are standing up for humans. You know what I'm saying? So if that's gonna, people will say, aren't you worried about getting a job one day? Nope, I'm not. I'm truly not. If they're not gonna accept me or agree with what I'm saying, then that's not where I should be working.
And that's integrity, right? Which goes back to like the beginning where it's like, that's your brand is integrity. But that's not even fair to say a brand. Or maybe it is, but that's who you
Well,
are, you know.
yeah, yeah, and I do, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but, like, when I was speaking to my other content creators and, like, influencer friends, because like, I started, like, a networking group, because I realized, like, lawyers go to the office and can talk to other lawyers, therapists go to the office, can talk to other therapists, influencers, we don't have other people to talk to, and there's, like, an unspoken competition in the industry, and, like, that's not my story, that's not what I like, what I appreciate, so I started a group.
love
And so
that.
when I was talking to them, like, consulting with them about changing my name, they said, like, your brand is Nicole. So, like, you don't need to be honestly Nick anymore. You are honest and people know that. So just be Nicole Tropiano, you know?
Yeah. I love that you started a group for other influencers or content creators. Community is so important. Like, this is why we're all struggling. Everybody's competitive and not talking to each other. And one more thing to love about Nicole, it's just bringing people together.
Thank you. I do love that. I think that I have a gift for that. And I fucking love it. And if there's one thing I love, it's a new Facebook group. I just created one for the school district that I'm in, like uniting the moms in the area. It's
We just
easy
need
for me.
younger moms to get on Facebook because the Facebook group feature is really so much better than WhatsApp.
I don't know.
So I don't,
I don't
yeah,
know.
I don't
I'm
like
only
WhatsApp.
on Facebook for Facebook Marketplace and a couple of groups. Like,
Oh my God, that's so
yeah.
funny.
I mean, but to Pauline's thing, it's like I have my own, like, I have my own purpose on Facebook, right? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? Okay, we've talked about resources that are out there. What resources would you like there to be out there? Would you like to be out there that you don't see right now? Or have you already created?
For
When you see it, you create it, kind of a thing.
Yeah, like I don't know if this is what you mean, but affordable care. Like, so I don't currently have a therapist, full disclosure.
Unacceptable, Nicole.
I know.
Unacceptable.
I know.
We're gonna
Well,
have
with
to
you.
do something about
I know.
this because
You know
that's
what
just
it is?
bullshit.
So like I'm over talk therapy. Like I'm just over I go to my meetings, I talk, I have a sponsor, I talk, I have like people like sponsees and stuff that I talk to. Every time I go to therapy, it ends up being talk therapy and it's great. But right now in my life, I don't have an hour to spare that's just going to be talk therapy. Like I've been told I need CBT or other coping mechanisms for the OCD or the anxiety. And I just haven't found a practitioner that has helped me or that we vibed that way. The last therapist I was with, like, ended up dropping like a political thing. And I'm like, absolutely the fuck not. And it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. And I know it's not everybody. I know that I could find
Was
a
it
therapist.
any political thing or was like an opposite political thing?
Opposite,
Okay.
opposite. And also, like, I know and I don't like self-disclosure, like, I just, like, I kinda wanna talk but that's not what I need, I need CBT. And it feels like a waste of time right now, and I know it's not, but I wanna so the people who could help me with my OCD charge $500 an hour, and that's fucking ridiculous. And, like, I don't know if she's out there, so she probably doesn't know who I am, but, like, you know who you are, like, that's insane, like, you don't need to make $500,000 a year to help people because you're not. So, like, I understand you have the degrees. I understand you have to pay for your schooling, but so do I. Like, you could be helping so many more people if you're not fucking charging $450 an hour. It's insane. Or even
Charge
200.
a
Like,
lot, and I don't charge that much.
well, sorry. No, no.
That's
Like
that's to
no
me,
shade,
that I mean,
and I know it's hard to do the whatever it's called, the qualifications, what is it? When you have to like
training,
get a referral?
education.
No, like from insurance, you need a referral,
Yeah.
prior
Uh,
authorizations,
Right.
like all
that's
that shit. Like
Yeah.
I know it's hard. So I know why people go into private practice, but I
In private pay. Yeah.
yeah.
yeah, I don't understand it.
Like so many things, there is a spectrum. There are lots of
Of
us that are in
course.
private practice who figure out how to do both. I'm really proud that I can say I charge a lot, and also we have some free services. So, like,
Sure. Or
but
like a sliding scale.
yes, I will talk to you after this, and I will help you find somebody, and it won't be one of us because
Does that sound?
that's just
Do a
bullshit, Nicole. You need
relationship
to be in
now.
therapy, and also, have you ever done EMDR?
I was just saying, oh, Pauline's gonna talk to her
No.
about EMDR.
But I am intrigued by it. That is
Okay, we'll
another
talk
thing.
about it.
Not very
CBT
much
and
talking. Not
EMDR.
very much talking. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down to try anything if they'll take my insurance. I can't pay out of pocket.
Yeah, we'll talk.
Okay.
Okay. So we do have to wrap things up. I wish we didn't, but we do. But okay. What
This
is
is my problem. Like, I want to be your therapist, and I can't be your therapist because I want to be your friend. So I won't be your therapist, but I
I
can help
know
you
it's
find
hard.
somebody who's a good fit.
okay? So our podcast is what no mom told you. So what you had to learn the hard way. I don't know how we boil this down, but we're gonna try. What is the thing that no mom told you that you had to learn the hard way?
It makes me emotional. I don't want to I can't think of like okay, so I do have one thing. So what I wanted to say was like it gets better. Like that's what I wish that we could tell people over and over is like even if you don't believe that it gets better, know that it got better for me and I know it will get better for you. But one thing that no mom told me, another hill that I'll die on, you see all these things on social media. These women give birth to these babies and they have their fucking makeup done in their hair. And they'll write, my little bestie, born Tuesday, May 27th, 8 a.m. Like your little bestie. You just met this human. How is it your best friend already? I didn't fall in love with my daughter until she was 6 weeks old. And nobody told me that that was normal. She smiled for the first time and I said, fuck, I love you. I knew that I had loved her, but I wasn't in love with her. And nobody told me that that
You did
happened.
not
So
feel it.
I thought something was wrong with me. And that's just not the truth. Nobody talks about it.
Yeah. One of the best things I ever heard, my son was in the NICU. I didn't know what that meant. What does it mean when you don't get to hold him for 3 days? What? And
Mm,
a midwife, a friend's mom who's a midwife, told me relationships with your baby is just like any other relationship. It has the power to grow. And I was
mm.
like, thank God.
Yeah.
She's like, your first 3 days don't define, or your first 3 weeks, or your first 6 months don't define your relationship.
Wow. Yeah, it's spot on. It's absolutely spot on. And it just speaks back to like social media being a highlight reel, like you're in matching bows with your daughter and she's 3 hours old. And I'm like, it's fucking bullshit. Like if that's your truth, that's fine. I believe you and I think that's beautiful. But if it's not really what you feel, I also felt immediately connected with my son, with my second child. But I wish that somebody had told me that if you don't feel that connection, it's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's not a
Because
one
for
size fits
6
all.
weeks, you thought something was wrong with you.
Yeah, and I didn't realize because you're not sleeping and I'm breastfeeding and even if you're bottle feeding, however you're feeding your baby, like you're barely coming up for air. Your house is a mess. You're ordering food. You're hemorrhaging money. And then 6 weeks happen, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I haven't been feeling that, but now I am. And then after you fall in love with them, you're beating yourself up for not being in love for the first 6 weeks. So I try to share that as often as possible. I definitely don't share it enough.
Yeah, yeah. Babies are not I say it all the time in therapy, like, they're really not that much fun in the beginning, like, they're
They're
just
so
little
needy.
they
Yeah.
need a lot, they cry, they smell, like, I mean, okay, I'm thinking about, oxytocin and the good smells of the baby, but
Yeah,
mostly they
yeah,
don't
yeah.
they're peeing on you, like, it is
Yeah.
not and you have to keep them alive, like
And life changes. You're no longer going out for date nights with your partner, or like, say it's a single mom, a single birthing person. Like, you can't just go do what you want when you want now. You are keeping this human alive. Is it a sleep schedule? Is it not a sleep schedule? I mean, like, newborns aren't on one, but it's like all of a sudden, it's not just you anymore.
Yeah.
yeah, showering becomes a chore, a
Yeah.
challenge. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for saying it. Like, you might not love your baby right away. Like,
Yeah, and I didn't realize I was gonna say that. I didn't, because I was really thinking about I think that people do say it gets better and you're not alone, but the piece that nobody told me was what I just shared.
yeah, there's we really appreciate you being here and sharing this. And I know that this episode is gonna mean a lot to a lot of people. So
Well, thank you.
if
I
you're
appreciate it, and
listening and heard anything that resonates, like, yeah, you're not alone.
And we'll
thank
put
you.
all the resources that we touched on in the show notes, as well as, your groups that you're leading, anything
Thank you.
else that, we'll share our love language.
Cool, yeah, I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, ladies.
Thank
This was
you.
so much fun. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
And we might have to have you back because
Yeah, I'll
there's
see
a
you
lot
soon.
to
I'll be
say.
here.
Yeah.
I know.
Thanks for spending this time with us. If you found yourself nodding along or saying, same, that's kind of the point.
We hope you leave today feeling a little less alone. This is what no mom told you. And yeah, there's more where that came from.